Hello, my name is Angelica, owner of Inner Body Strength, and also I collaborate with the Intuitive Collective. And here with me is Carly, the founder of the Intuitive Collective.
Hello.
Apart from that, she also does her own coaching business, Carly M. Renee Coaching,
Yep.
where she does mentorship, guidance, energy readings. It's all for people on the spiritual path looking for alignment in their lives.
Yeah.
So I have some questions for her that I thought the audience would want to know because I'm also wanting to know. Was there something that occurred in your life that propelled you into this spiritual journey?
Yeah, I would say, the spiritual journey kind of never ends, right? Like it's an ongoing process, but there was a moment in my life that like definitely got me going on it and kind of propelled it forward, which was I was living in Ireland. It was the pandemic for COVID first hit, and we were kind of in isolation. I was in a very unhappy marriage at the time, and I was getting a lot of anxiety for the first time, like that I'd never experienced before. And I just had this moment where I felt so overwhelmed. And I went into the bedroom. I'll never forget. I was like on my knees. It was like very dramatic, but I was like, oh my God, please help me. Like, I just cried out to like the ethers essentially. And was like, oh my God, help me. What can I do to help myself? And literally just a ping came in, a little download immediate. It was just meditation. I'd already started like talking about meditation with my friends because my friends were kind of like my friends all over the globe. We were doing like those Zoom calls to like survive, get through COVID and or the pandemic. And we were already talking about meditation, but we just like hadn't got on it, right? Like, so when that little ping came through, I like talked to my girlfriends and I was like, listen, why don't we do like a challenge or something like that? So we ended up signing up for a month-long challenge where we meditated every day for 30 days. We would check in with each other. We just had a little WhatsApp group. We would just write each other and be like, done, check mark or whatever. And that really held us accountable, really. And so just going in meditation every day like that really allowed me to go inward and kind of like help my energy and get to know myself a little bit better. And when throughout that process, I was able to like get the strength to like leave my marriage and move out during the pandemic, which was a very scary thing at the time. And I just got up and left. I had my friends that were supporting me through it. They're like, you can do it, Carly. And I moved myself into my own apartment and I ended up in isolation for like 3 straight months. And during that time, I was just kept up with the meditation journey. And one day I had a very profound experience, which was that my grandma, who had passed like a number of years before, showed up, like her energy showed up. And I knew it was her. It was this bright yellow energy, which now I use to like identify her when she's present. And she wrapped basically her energy around me and this warm, glowy energy. And I just cried and I felt held. I felt like I wasn't alone. And it was a beautiful experience that like pretty much changed my life. I was like, I'm never going back from there.
Yeah.
And I knew that meditation was like the way forward.
Okay. How did you get into channeling from there?
I mean, that was a long journey too. Like I didn't know that's what I was going to do. You know what I mean? Some people, they grow up and they're like channeling or they kind of know that about their spiritual gifts like early on. That really wasn't the case. But I really just started kind of learning to love myself throughout this journey of, the spiritual journey and just kind of going inward and doing a lot of healing. That throughout that process, I became, a little bit more connected to my spirit, right? And I was able to shine my light, right? As I started healing from the relationship and kind of going through that process. And once I was kind of bodying more of my spirit and more of my light, I started being more in alignment, essentially. And I started getting signs and synchronicities, and I started seeing angel numbers and all these things that never occurred to me before. And it was a really beautiful kind of discovery period of like, wow, this is really happening and this is interesting. And then I ended up getting kind of some messages that led me to do like a number of different things like somatic healing with practitioners where I like did a lot of inner child healing. And I just kept going up and up, up, up like that. It just kept advancing to the point where I ended up in a spiritual course. And I didn't stop there because I felt for the first time in my life that I was doing something that felt like connected to my spirit. It didn't feel like work at all. And it was like something that I was able to develop and cultivate like a muscle, essentially my intuitive skills in this coursework. And that's when I started doing the channeling.
Okay. So I know the last time we talked, we discussed aura readings, and I know you also offer past life readings. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? What initially drew you to past life readings?
Yeah, I guess for me, the initial thing was getting a past life reading. Like I was kind of involved in that world. I was doing a lot of personal development at the time in coursework, and I met someone who said, I would love to practice doing past life readings, and I would love to practice on you. Would you like to sit for one of my past life readings? And I was like, I was really interested in all that stuff already. So I was like, yeah, yes, like that would be really cool. And this past life reading was so profound. I mean, he went into great detail. That was kind of his method of like kind of painting the picture of what these past lives were. But I just felt like even though didn't have complete remembrance of that, as he was uncovering the story to me, it resonated so much. And it resonated with kind of like who I am today in so many aspects of my like complex identity. And I just fell in love with it. And then really in my coursework, right, one of the modules was past life readings and learning how to do those. And I started doing those in reading and practice sessions with other people in the coursework. And out of all the different types of things, aura readings and past life readings were the two that just seemed to flow through me. The messages really flowed through me. It came naturally, and I felt like it was very powerful, the messages that I was able to relay to whoever I was reading to and now to clients on the things that were coming through to really help people in their present day life.
Okay. Okay. So, was there a moment that you noticed you had this gift, a specific moment in time?
Yeah, I think it was just over time practicing with a lot of people in my coursework. I started noticing that the feedback I was getting from people in the sessions was like, wow, that was really powerful, or that was really spot on. And it made me feel good, not just only getting that feedback, but when I was giving them, I felt like I was totally transported. And I was just a channel of their higher self, like getting these messages. And so it just, like I said, it came really naturally. And I just kept wanting to practice those more. So it was more of like, I wasn't forcing anything or like, oh, I got to get good at this.
Yeah.
It was like I was drawn to it. It pulled me in, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, can you walk us through what a past life reading looks like? I'll get comfortable here.
Definitely. So before like I even meet with a client, so just I should back up. These sessions can be virtual or they can be in person. It really doesn't matter. I would say most people, maybe if they're kind of unfamiliar with energy work, they kind of like want to do it in person, and that's totally understandable. When I first had somatic healing done, I also really wanted to do it in person. But I also do them virtually because it's energetic, these readings. So it doesn't matter as long as the intention's there and we're setting the energy and things like that. So what I do is if someone's coming to meet me here at Alter Community, for example, for a session, I get the space ready. So I get myself ready. I get myself in alignment and really grounded. And then I also get the space that we're in. Same thing if it's a virtual space. I get myself ready in an energetic space by doing meditation, getting grounded. And then I lead the client when they show up in grounding the space and also helping lead them in grounding their own energy so that we can really have a clear channel between the two of us from like my higher self to their higher self. So it's basically soul speak. We're speaking to each other's souls.
Okay.
And that's the best way to do that is by clearing that energetic space, like their individual and the larger space that we're in. And then and then from there, basically, I start out by like reading the energy, the aura of like the color of the reading, I should say.
Okay.
Once I do that, I kind of match my crown chakra to that same color so that we can be in alignment, basically. And then I add a little bit of something to that so it does enough separation. So that I'm not like mirroring them or whatever in the reading, so that I'm actually channeling their higher self, not maybe channeling my own higher self, right? So to keep that separation. I also set intentions for the reading, making sure that whatever messages are coming through from beings of the higher light that are there for our higher good for both of us, and that these messages are timely and meant to come forward at this time. So that's what I do. And then basically I start getting the messages. Mostly a lot of my past life readings are very visual. So my clairvoyance, which is clairseeing, I see images in my mind's eye. And these are very powerful. So it's very kind of paints a beautiful picture and a story of what these lives might look like. I do two different kinds of lives basically. And one is a karmic life and one is an empowered life. So what a karmic life is basically a life maybe where there was a lot of struggle, and maybe you were, disconnected a little bit from your true essence. And some of that struggle and that wounding or whatever is still living inside of you, right? Still living in your energetic space. So what I do is I would channel kind of the story first of kind of what that life looked like, but instead of really getting into all the details, which can be very beautiful too, and I like that aspects of it because it's fun, right? But I talk a little bit about what the story about what that life looked like, but then I really focus it on your life today, your present day life, incarnation now on earth, and how this is showing up.
Okay.
And what are you being called to kind of release, right? And this is generally the ego, the patterns, the wounding, maybe showing up in your relationships, or just in your, maybe blocking your spiritual journey or whatever your path. And so those messages are coming through timely. And the other side of the coin is then the empowered life. And so the client can choose, I just want to know about a karmic life. Maybe they're feeling really stuck. Maybe they're just feeling like they need some of that clarity, or maybe they want to get an empowered life, or maybe they want both, right? So I could offer all those things. And the empowered life is basically a life that you were really connected to your spirit, where you did great things and you were able to kind of live out your soul's purpose. And this might be showing up in the things that you embody today that's really working for you. And so this is kind of a remembrance, a reminder of your power, of your strength, of what's really working for you. And those are really powerful messages too. And it's not just all about the wounding and the sad stories, but also about what makes you also very powerful and strong and is showing up in your life now. So it's like those messages, the purpose would be like to show what you could embody even more of, and maybe some tips on how to embody more of that.
Yeah.
That you would have gotten from these past lives. So
okay,
very powerful and very practical, I guess I would say, for like how to go about your day-to-day life now.
sounds really powerful, actually. Also sounds like someone could be nervous getting into this. What would you say to someone who's unsure or nervous about getting a past life reading?
Yeah, I think sometimes people get a little nervous, like, ooh, what kind of messages are going to come up? Is this going to be a little bit scary or negative stuff, or make me feel bad, or like, am I going to end up in tears?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, because I actually set that intention before the reading. And I say, messages that are going to help you to grow, right? So whatever messages are coming through from your higher self, right? That always has your best, in mind, as well as your spirit guides and ancestors of the highest light, and my guides and ancestors of the spirit, the highest light, and archangels, whoever decides to be present during that reading, they're really rooting for you, let's say. This is called unconditional love. It's almost like a vacuum seal that I create of unconditional love. And the messages are coming through it might make you emotional, but in a good way, because it's resonant. But really, I would say just keep an open mind and be curious. And I think more than not, it's just fun. And it's also just insightful, but can also be emotional too, but in a very good way that gives you some practical steps that you can like move forward and kind of gain some self-awareness as well. So it's all for your higher, good, essentially.
That's awesome. One last question. What words of advice do you have for anyone that is on the spiritual journey, possibly maybe even alone?
Yeah, it can be very lonely, like, and that is required sometimes in the spiritual journey, right? Like to go inward, to like reconnect with yourself, to fall in love with yourself, to get to know yourself. It does require some of that alone time, but you don't have to do it all alone, right? Like that's why I created Intuitive Collective. So there's a community, right, of empaths that you can really get together with folks and do healing together. We're not, and I know you talk about this a lot in your work, like we're not wired to be alone, right? We're wired for community.
Yes.
We're wired for connection. And so what I would say is there's a lot of spiritual communities online, but also like look for ones that are in person too, because that's a whole nother level of connection. Like, I guess my jumping point, for me was that spiritual course that I took and a couple other communities that I joined. And then from there, building that community in person here in Chicago made all the difference too, where like you can just be your authentic self. And sometimes I think on the spiritual journey, I know you can relate to this, like trying to talk to people that maybe aren't there quite yet, or just, it's hard maybe that they kind of look at you with blank face or like kind of, and that's okay, because that's part of it, right? Like living here in this 3D existence, like we're going to deal with that. We can't just live in like a little cloud or a little bubble all the time. But it's nice to be also in community. So I'd say like look out for those communities, be intentional. They're there. You just have to kind of look for them, and don't be afraid to like share things that you're going through, because I guarantee other people are going through or have gone through some similar stuff as well. So
yeah. So before we get off, I know I said that was the last question, but people might be wondering, how do they find out where the Intuitive Collective is?
Yeah, good question. So we're all over the place. Right now, we're doing mostly in-person events in Chicago, but this winter we're going to start doing some more online offerings for as it gets a little icy cold. But we're basically on Instagram. You can find us pretty soon on YouTube. We're going to be getting that going, and we're going to be putting these podcasts on there.
I think you might be watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, actually, it might be already on YouTube. And also, we're like on Meetup and Eventbrite now. And so, yeah, you could find us a lot of different channels. If you go to Instagram, pretty much we have a link in bio, and you can find all the ways to connect with us.
Yeah. Did you mention a Telegram chat? We also have a Telegram chat.
Yeah. Telegram chat's kind of like for those that are like looking for like a little bit cozier connection, and we just maybe would share some insights or ways like questions to pose in the group, or maybe that's something going on in the cosmos, something that we're chatting about, or events that we have upcoming. So please join us. We are always open and looking to expand our community and to bring more beautiful souls on board with us. So looking forward to meeting all of you.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you. And bye for now.
Bye.